heard if we vote. As the saying goes, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. I am so sick of watching Democratic figures spend their time going after Joe Biden. And no, it's not because I think that he's a sweet little baby who should be protected and you can never say a negative thing about him. It's because if you are a Democratic figure and you have a large platform and you spend more time doing that than you do talking about the fact that Republicans are challenging birthright citizenship and that they're proposing the largest cuts to Medicaid SNAP in American history, deporting people without due process. If you spend more time talking about Joe Biden than you do talking about those things, it's clear you don't actually care about making things better. You just want to make yourself look better and distance yourself from him because you think it's going to make you more electable in a Democratic primary. And the only person who I have seen answer this question in a way that I thought was not only acceptable, but I thought had a real string of leadership to it was Pete Buttigieg, who was basically like, should he have run for re-election? Maybe, maybe not. But it's a lot easier for us to give opinions on that now after it's already happened, when in reality is right now we have way more important things that we need to focus on. So if you want to spend your time stuck in a fucking loop back in June or July of 2024, if that's what you want to spend your time doing, you do that. But the rest of us are going to be out here focused on the shit that we can do to make people's lives better in July of 2024.
What's going on, guys? Hey, I want to come back to it. I want to bring you a video about a woman named Olivia Giuliani. Now, Olivia is a fat Latina lesbian who you would think nobody would ask, what do you think about men? Why don't you think men vote Democrat? And again, if she knew what she doesn't know, if she knew, she would say, because they pander to people like me. And they'll be correct in a lot of ways. But the fact of the matter is, man, the Democrats have turned to people like Olivia to find out why men typically don't vote Democrat, especially white men. Again, you're going to find out some pretty hilarious answers. Watch.
And I think that it would be so much easier if we just understood that the problems we're having with young men shifting to the right, it's not because they don't agree with us on the policy. They do agree with us on the policy. It's because they feel like we don't understand the struggles they're facing, the actual struggles, not the perceived struggles of the masculinity crisis or whatever it is, the actual struggles. And instead, we just kind of want to blame them for all of our problems.
Right. I think there's a lot of that I just fully agree with. I mean, we just don't message to men. Right. And I was like, we don't message in a way that resonates to men. Something that you kind of responded to that I've seen a lot is, well, the reason why Republican messaging resonates with men is because men want bad things, right? So men want to have sex and own women, right? Like they want to dominate everybody. And Republicans say, you get to do that. And then Democrats can't say that. So we just lost men. It's over, right? What are you talking about? A lot of times it will be men that are liberals who will agree with that shit. I'm like, dude, what is going on? There's a lot of men that don't think that way, obviously. And it's just such a negative view to take on half of the human race.
Well, I also think it's just so abundantly clear that the people who say these things don't actually spend time talking to young men. You know this because we know each other in real life, but I spend a lot of time on college campuses, and I spend a lot of time with
young men.
I love young men. I love frat guys, and in that I've realized even the ones that identify as conservative are almost always pro-choice. They're almost always pro-gay marriage. You'd be surprised at the number of them who supported Black Lives Matter. And so I feel like people just kind of lump them into this box when the truth is, again, a lot of them are with us on the issues. They're just not part of our coalition because they feel like they're not welcomed in it.
They're not talked to, right? And yeah, they're not welcome. That's true. Like there's a lot of times where it's like being like masculine characteristics or seem like they're frowned upon, and they're kind of welcomed and championed by the Republican Party. And like masculine characteristics are not characteristics that are intrinsically bad, right? And I think that some Democrats have presented it that way. Now, obviously not most Democrats, but it's like this perception that a lot of guys have had.
So the reason why conservative young men don't vote Democrat is because, again, they're not invited into space. How stupid of an answer is that? I mean, really think about it. So again, young conservative men, I mean, they're actually pro-choice. Again, they're not anti-abortion, or they're really pro-choice. But again, we're not nice to them. If we would just invite them into our space, they might see things the way we want them to see them. Because, in fact, they already do. They already see things the way that we do. And again, how arrogant, how stupid and arrogant do you have to be to believe that, again, they really truly believe the way you believe. But the reason why they don't join with you is because, again, you haven't invited them in. Again, that's so arrogant. They believe they're right. We believe that we're so right that no one could ever be against what we want. No one could ever think to themselves, you know what? No, they're wrong. Because again, we can't be wrong. We're not wrong at all. We're so right that everyone knows we're right. They just don't want to join us because we haven't invited them in. Guys, man, that is so dumb. And again, that's something a fat lesbian would say. Again, because they truly don't understand. They truly don't see. But again, that's the reason why the Democrats, they keep losing. Why? Because they employ people like her to give an answer to something like that. And again, she is not qualified to give the answer. They just want to hear what she has to say because, again, she is part of a marginalized community. It's insane. It truly is. But again. And this girl got so mad when people started making fun of her and her answers. Watch.
How the fuck did he use my weight loss as an insult? What the fuck?
I'm the person that's in charge of bringing young men back to the Democratic Party, according to Donald Trump Jr., Trump War Room, Libs of TikTok. And while none of that's actually true, every single time I saw one of y'all posting about me, I had one main thought at the top of my head. Y'all are a bunch of... Y'all are the ones that made it about a woman and her identity and the way that she looks. Something that y'all consistently claim the Democrats do. You don't actually give a fuck about young men. Instead, a lot of you want to talk about my weight. You're using pictures of me from about 65 pounds ago. So let me ask you this. If I lose another 65 pounds, will y'all actually raise young men's wages? Will you actually increase funding to mental health services? Or are you just going to find another way to deflect from the fact that y'all don't actually have any policy plan to help them? Y'all can keep making this into some kind of big joke of, oh yeah, let's send her to every frat house in the country. I'm not afraid to go into frat houses or to go to college campuses or to talk to Republicans because unlike y'all, I don't think that they're all shallow assholes. I think that they're actual people who can hold a conversation. But clearly, based off the way you talk about them and the way that you treat them, you think that they're dumb as shit. Well, I actually don't. So I'm going to continue to advocate for young men to get the policy agenda that they do deserve. And I'm going to continue to lose weight. And then maybe when I finally do drop that next 65 pounds, we can revisit this conversation and see if you can actually stand on business. Because this time, none of you fucking did.
How the fuck did he use my weight loss as an insult? What the fuck?
I'm the person that's in charge of bringing young men back to the Democratic Party. According to Donald Trump Jr., Trump War Room, Libs of TikTok. And while none of that's actually true, every single time I saw one of y'all posting about me, I had one main thought at the top of my head. Y'all are a bunch of... Y'all are the ones that made it about a woman and her identity and the way that she looks. Something that y'all consistently claim the Democrats do. You don't actually give a fuck about young men. Instead, a lot of you want to talk about my weight. You're using pictures of me from about 65 pounds ago. So let me ask you this. If I lose another 65 pounds, will y'all actually raise young men's wages? Will you actually increase funding to mental health services? Or are you just going to find another way to deflect from the fact that y'all don't actually have any policy plan to help them? Y'all can keep making this into some kind of big joke of, oh yeah, let's send her to every frat house in the country. I'm not afraid to go into frat houses or to go to college campuses or to talk to Republicans because unlike y'all, I don't think that they're all shallow assholes. I think that they're actual people who can hold a conversation, but clearly, based off the way you talk about them and the way that you treat them, you think that they're dumb as shit. Well, I actually don't. So I'm going to continue to advocate for young men to get the policy agenda that they do deserve. And I'm going to continue to lose weight. And then maybe when I finally do drop that next 65 pounds, we can revisit this conversation and see if you can actually stand on business. Because this time, none of you fucking did.
If you're trying to raise the minimum wage, you're trying to help against some teenager. The majority of people that are out there trying to raise families and whatnot are not working minimum wage jobs. They're not. Number one. And number two, again, when you raise that minimum wage, you raise everything with it. Cost associated with again labor is going to raise the prices of everything. Again, you don't want to do that. You want to make the dollar stronger, worth more. Again, I wouldn't care if I ate $10 a week if I could buy everything I needed with that $10. You understand what I'm saying? But you want to raise a wage so it looks good. It sounds good. But again, it doesn't help anyone. It hurts them, number one. And number two, you're talking about increasing mental health services for, conservatives. I don't think so. You need to increase that for trans. Again, instead of trying to convince people that boys can be girls and that girls can be boys, why don't you just get the boys that believe they can be girls and the girls that believe they can be boys? Why don't you just get them help? Again, you could never truly be what you're not. I mean, you can kind of look like it, get surgeries, and you can get hormones and whatever. But you will never truly be that which you want to be. So maybe there's something wrong with you. It's maybe. But again, the Democrat, they say it's all about, they have the wrong platform. They're not reaching people properly. And yeah, they are reaching. They are getting through. It's just that young conservative men, they don't buy what they're being told. And again, I'm going to show you a piece from MSNBC, and they're talking about this. And again, they're so deluded that they're trying to convince themselves that the reason why they're losing male voters is because they don't have the right platform. Watch.
All right, there's no doubt that podcasts and influencers played a pivotal role in shaping the 2024 election. Shows like the Joe Rogan Experience certainly helped Donald Trump and Republicans connect with millions of Americans, including key swing state voters and younger audiences. And now Democrats are looking to replicate that model. According to the New York Times, liberal strategists are pushing the party's rich backers to help assemble an army of left-leaning online influencers to create their own podcast empire. But as the Time notes, right-leaning touchstones like Rogan's podcast were not built by political donors and did not rise overnight. So can the party really podcast their way back into power? What do you think of that line?
Podcast their way back into power was powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful line.
A lot of beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah, Jason is back with us. So first of all, give us this. First, I mean, your take on this theory that somehow if you had the right podcast, it would have landed better. Voters would have reacted. Because I'm old enough to remember Joe Rogan coming out in support of Bernie Sanders.
I know.
When the Democratic Party was like, we don't want to have anything to do with Bernie Sanders. If they would have at the time said, okay, let's see what this populist message is, and if it does resonate with voters, maybe Joe Rogan today would be
right. The Joe Rogan of the left.
The Joe Rogan of the left.
They had the Joe Rogan of the left. He endorsed Bernie. But it's a little weird to try and reverse engineer it this way.
Right.
And I'm not saying I don't want somebody to give me lots of money. I want somebody. I have a podcast.
You'd accept the job.
I would accept it. I would accept it. But it's a little weird to reverse engineer it. It's like kind of like you want to write a book, but you make a movie of it first to write the book.
Right.
It's like not the natural order of things a little bit. I do understand wanting to right some of the wrongs from 2024.
Yeah.
Again, guys, man, if Democrats want the podcast, if they had wanted the podcast, again, they would have had to be honest. And the message that they deliver would have had to be different. Again, the Democrats had the mainstream media. They still have the mainstream media. But again, what happened to the mainstream media? They lost power. They lost influence. They lost viewers. To who? To the Joe Rogans of the world. The podcast. Why? Because people understood they were being told the truth on these podcasts. They were being told something different. And again, this stuff was never allowed on the mainstream news. As a matter of fact, man, when people first started saying things on these podcasts that went against the mainstream narrative, again, they wanted to have these podcasts shut down. I mean, look what happened during COVID. And again, now we know that a lot of what they said, most everything they said on Joe Rogan's, on, whatever, were true. What they said about ivermectin and whatnot, they were true. What they said about the origins of the virus, again, we now know are true. But again, they couldn't say it 5 years ago. Why? Because it was misinformation. And again, I know myself, a few years ago when I got started, I had to really watch what I thought about certain things. They had been taken down for misinformation. So again, the Democrats will never have the podcast. I mean, again, they can make their own. Sure, they can do whatever they want to do, but again, they won't have the viewership. Again, because people, you understand they're being lied to. You understand what's happening. People will leave their podcast just like they left the mainstream news. But anyways, guys, man, if you would, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below.
You son of a